The car that's currently parked on your driveway or in your garage probably isn't all that special. It may have cost you a lot of money, and you might love it, but the chances are that it's one of thousands of vehicles that look exactly the same. And there's nothing wrong with that. Cars are mass-produced, and so that's just the way the world works. Not every car is one of a class of thousands, though. Some of them are unique, one-off constructions of a type that has never been seen before or since. In this video, we're going to look at some of the most amazing cars of all time. You might have heard of the British supersonic car Bloodhound before. It's been in the news semi-regularly during the past 12 months because it's currently being prepared for an attempt to break the world land speed record. No car that looks or functions anything like this has ever been built before. It was created for this one task, and as soon as it achieves it, it will probably end up in a museum. The land speed record currently stands at 763 miles per hour. If all goes well, this missile-shaped vehicle will go faster than 800 miles per hour. Its inventors and mechanics believe that if everything goes their way and the car achieves its maximum potential, it might even break the 1,000 miles per hour mark. As of right now, the team is currently preparing for a test run in South Africa, during which it's hoped that the record speed will be achieved. But it's thought that a further $8 million in funding are required to seal the deal. If you've got a lot of money sat around in your bank account, feel free to get involved in the record attempt. The organizers of the Geneva Motor Show were looking for something truly special to turn heads in March 2019, and they found it in the shape of this fully restored golden Sahara 2 vintage concept car. The creation of the car was the work of Jim Street, along with customization expert George Barris. You can tell just from looking that this is a car design that comes from the jet age fascination of the 1950s and 1960s. The canopy glass looks like something from a fighter plane, and the grille and tail fins wouldn't look out of place on a plane from that era either. In what was an amazing innovation for its time, the car features an electronic braking system that could detect obstacles in front of the car and automatically apply the brakes to keep out of danger. If you've ever seen the classic movie Cinderfella, you'll have seen the Golden Sahara 2 open its doors automatically and even drive via remote control, both of which are abilities it retains in its refurbished state. It spent more than 50 years in hiding after the film was released, but now it looks every bit as bold and beautiful as it did the day Jim Street finished working on it. This next car is sure to bring a smile to any Star Wars fan watching. It's a land speeder, of the kind seen in the original 1970 Star Wars film A New Hope, and it's fully operational. The realization of this unique jet-powered vehicle was the work of Colin Fours, a somewhat eccentric custom car builder and inventor who has a strong YouTube following. Amazingly, Fours and his team were able to build the car from start to finish in just 5 weeks, even though the only thing they had to guide them was a miniature-scale model. The all-metal body is powered by a 13-watt electric motor and a pair of jet engines on the back that make the car suitably loud and dramatic. It may not be able to fly in real life, but it must feel like flying when you're driving along inside it. It's not as smooth a ride as it appeared to be in the films, but just the fact that he's been able to take a movie prop and get it working like a real car is remarkable. What's the best way to describe the Michelin PLR? Should we call it a strange limousine? Is it more of an elongated station wagon? We'll leave that up to you to decide. The one-of-a-kind car was built by Michelin in 1972 and was loosely based on the company's DS brake. It's perfectly safe to drive on roads despite its unusual shape. But its real job was helping the company who built it to evaluate tires on test tracks. It spent most of its working life in the Le Doux test track in Clermont-Ferrand in France. But these days it's semi-permanently parked in the city's Michelin Museum. Very occasionally it gets driven out and shown to the public at specialist car shows. There are 10 wheels on the car, which makes use of a hydro-pneumatic design and is powered by a pair of 454 Chevrolet big block engines positioned at the vehicle's rear. The sample tires that have been fitted for testing are positioned right at the center of the 25-foot-long car and can be lifted, raised, and moved into a range of different positions by purpose-built hydraulics. In 1931, Studebaker had an unusual idea to promote its iconic President car models. The car had been out since 1926 and had been a big seller, but poor economic conditions at the time meant that sales figures were dropping off, and Studebaker needed to grab the attention of the public and get them buying cars again. To do that, they commissioned the creation of a giant 40-foot-long version of the President, standing 14 feet tall and mostly made from wood. Pine wood accounted for the massive car's bodywork, but the 7-foot-wide wheels were real and were made by the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. Once it was completed, Studebaker made their 5.5-ton President the star of a 10-minute promotional movie called Wildflowers. Unfortunately, the car isn't still around today. As it couldn't really be driven, there was no use for it after the movie had been shot, and so it was left to rot for 5 years and then deliberately burned down in 1936. If the company had possessed a little more foresight, it might still be a museum piece today. Car exhibitions and showcase events are always a good place to find unique and unusual cars. And this next vehicle was the star of the show at the 1939 World's Fair. It's the Pontiac Deluxe 6 Ghost Car, and it was manufactured especially for the show. Almost the whole vehicle is made from plexiglass, giving it its transparent appearance and explaining why it was called the Ghost Car. It was part of the General Motors Futurama exhibition, held within the event's Previews of Progress pavilion. We don't know why anybody thought that see-through cars would be the style of choice in the future, but seeing the inner workings of the vehicle as it drives along is a fascinating experience. It's thought to have cost General Motors around $25,000 to build the car, and it was last heard of at an auction in 2011 in Michigan, where it was sold to a private collector for just over $300,000. We don't know what they've done with it, but we hope they're looking after it with all the care and attention that such a stunning design deserves. If unusual concept cars are your thing, then perhaps you'll enjoy taking a look at this Mercedes-Benz SL Roadster, built in the modern age based on a design that comes from 1886, the very first Benz patent motor car. Unlike the antique design, this vehicle runs on an electric 1.2 kilowatt zero-emission fuel cell system and is good for traveling over 200 miles between charges. The carbon fiber bucket seats, finished with hand-stitched leather, are the epitome of style and good taste, and the whole contraption is driven with a joystick as opposed to a wheel. It was originally designed by a student and wasn't expected to become a reality, but everybody was surprised when a real working model turned up in 2019 and was driven down the Bertha-Benz Memorial Route in Germany. The two-seater vehicle might look unique, but anyone who drives it shouldn't expect to get anywhere quickly. The top speed is a mere 16 miles per hour. There are no plans to make a commercial version of the SL Roadster. Mercedes-Benz built it simply because they could. Our viewers who live in Florida and the United States of America might be familiar with the work of Mike Vetter, who is a well-known car customization expert in the area. He's come up with a number of striking designs over the years, but we think the so-called extraterrestrial vehicle might be the best of them. Mike gave it its name because it doesn't look like any other car on the planet. Somewhere underneath the futuristic-looking car is a Chevy Aveo, but the body has been totally stripped away and replaced with an alien-looking shell and gull-wing doors. Somehow, he managed to get the car certified for road use, despite the fact that it doesn't have a rear window and doesn't have side view mirrors, so seeing what's happening behind the car depends on checking the onboard camera regularly. There's also a slight issue if it rains or snows. The ETV doesn't currently have a windscreen wiper. Mike is currently trying to sell the car on eBay and says he'll fit one from a Mitsubishi Eclipse if the buyer is willing to pay an additional fee. The very first car we looked at in this video was a rocket car, but it was a rocket car from the 21st century. Here's a look at what people thought rocket cars should look like almost 100 years ago. Rockets were all the rage in the 1920s, and inventors were trying to attach them to almost everything. Daniel Hungerford and his brother Floyd were keen followers of the trend, and in 1929 they came up with the Hungerford Rocket car of New York, built close to their home in Elmira. The chassis comes from a 1921 Chevy, dressed up with a lot of linoleum and cardboard, and driven by gas-burning rockets. Despite the fact that the rockets were clearly dangerous and the cardboard design was highly flammable, the Hungerford brothers somehow obtained a license to drive it in the state of New York. To be fair to them, they made history by doing so. They managed to get it up to 70 miles per hour. Back then, 40 miles per hour was considered to be fast for a car. The speed the rocket car moved at was almost unbelievable. Somewhere out there in the world, someone is holding on to a Boeing 727 jet limousine that they bought on eBay in 2007, and the enormous vehicle can legally be driven on the roads. Everything about the car is over the top. Inside, there's a sunken living room for entertaining guests, a dance floor, a full bar, a large television, and even a fireplace. Presumably, the bar is off limits to the driver, although we're not sure whether we should call that person a driver or a pilot. If guests get tired from strutting their stuff on the dance floor, they can head to the back of the plane car and take a nap on the heart-shaped bed. The body of the plane has been mounted on a Mercedes street bus, and the weight of the whole car comes in at a crushing 24,000 pounds. We can't even imagine what the cost of building it must have been, or how long it must have taken to put the whole thing together. But we hope the $300,000 that the seller got for it through the website auction made it worth their time. While turning planes into cars is a very strange idea, the Boeing 737 limo isn't the only example of it happening. A company called Jetsetter Incorporated lived up to their name in early 2019 when they showcased their limo jet. This is a smaller vehicle than the Boeing version, but it's a little more sleek, a little more stylish, and a little easier to imagine being driven on regular roads and highways. The body of the limousine was once a Learjet, but the seats have been stripped out and replaced with an enormously powerful cutting-edge sound system. The jet engine isn't inside the body anymore, but the 4,500-watt stereo probably makes just as much noise. There are also 5 different television screens inside and enough lights to make it look and feel like a nightclub. Building the limo jet took 12 years, and at the moment, the company doesn't have any plans to make a second unit. They're happy to hire this one out for parties, though, and rental comes with a company-approved chauffeur, so you can have a great time inside the old plane without worrying about driving safely. Back in 1968, French designer Jean-Pierre Pontiac wondered what cars might look like in the year 2000. The question fascinated him so much that he decided to build the car of the future himself. Unfortunately for Jean-Pierre, his prediction was a very long way off base. But his fully realized idea is quite a thing to behold. He called this spherical vehicle the AutoModule, and loved the first one so much that he built another 10 of them. Very few of them are still around today, and it isn't clear that any of them were ever legally licensed to drive. We doubt that anyone would grant approval to them now. If you think it looks familiar, it might be because you recognize it from its brief appearance in the iconic film Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It doesn't look fast, it certainly isn't aerodynamic, and it would probably fail every road safety test you could name, but it's definitely unique. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.